Welcome to Bader International's Classic Online Motorcycle Sales. Today we're going to do Chapter 2 of the teardown of this 1957 Harley Davidson Sportster. Being that this bike has the green-faced speedometer, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pull the speedo out and send it over to John Bordas to have him go ahead and put the gray face on this speedo. And actually this one actually looks like it was restored, because it only has about 10 miles on it. So it's a shame that I have to pull this green face off, but it is not correct for 1957. Obviously a K model speedometer. So we're going to go ahead and pull off the front tin, which will expose the speedometer, and then go ahead and take it off. And I'm sure we'll probably pull off the rest of the tin sheet metal to get that removed. Of course, you cannot remove the top tin with the key switches until you pull your handlebars off, because you can see it's sort of captured here underneath the top triple tree for the handlebars. So that'll remain. So we'll just go ahead and pull the skins off, front and rear, probably drop the headlight, pull that off. Again, this is a K model headlight, so I'll just go ahead and put this up on eBay and sell it so I can afford to buy a 57 or a proper headlight for this bike. And we'll also yank the tank and just pull off some of the peripherals, such as the toolbox, coil covers, and just start pulling her down. And I'll go ahead and point out different things as I go to points of interest. So if you do follow these videos, you can see how things are supposed to be set up and how they're not supposed to be set up. Okay, I went ahead and pulled the front tin cover off, these two screws, of course, and then there's a couple of flat screws down here on the bottom. So unscrewed those. Luckily enough, the headlight was loose, so all I had to do is move it around to get to these screws. If not, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get a long screwdriver in there to get those weeded out. If not, then you have to pull your rear tins off, loosen the bolt for the headlight, so you can move it to get your screws out. The rear tins are actually held in with the two screws here and also the one up here. So basically you have to take these screws out to get your rear tins off, which you have to do. And earlier I said I was going to go ahead and pull the speedometer off. And to do so, we're actually going to have to pull the handlebars off to take this top cover off. You can see it has the fiber electrical panel there, terminal board. It looks like we have some new wiring along with some old wiring off the headlight. So again, very amateur restoration on this girl. And once I pulled the front tin off, I did find that one of the pinch bolts for the lower triple tree is missing. Thank you very much. And also the spacers for behind the headlight mounting bracket are missing. There should be spacers between the terminal board and the headlight mounting bracket. I'll show you here on the parts book. These two right here, the 6, 7, 8, 21-52s should be behind that headlight bracket to space it out and give room for the panel, and also to make your front tin fit properly. Luckily enough, these are the original ignition switches, and these girls are like hen's teeth. If you had a set of those with the keys for sale, you can get well over $1,000 just for those switches. Looks like a proper speedometer for 57. The earlier ones for the K models just had little tabs welded off to the side of the cover itself and mounted up here. Instead, the later ones were mounted with this long plate and the rubber grommets. So that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the headlight off. I'm going to pull the handlebars off and pull the top tin off to go ahead and expose and remove the speedometer. Okay, we went ahead and pulled the headlight off, took the two bolts that were mounted to the lower triple trees. And being that they didn't have the spacers in there, you can see what happened to the end of the special bolt here. They boogered up the threads by running them all the way in and bottoming them out. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we have our spacers in and also all the bolts in before we on the way back up on the restoration. So to pull the speedometer off, we actually have to pull the handlebars off. And to do so, we have to move the headlight out of the way, and then we can disconnect all the wiring to the handlebars, and then take off the brake and clutch perch, get them out of the way, and then bust these two big bolts off back here, and then we can remove the handlebars with the bracket and all this and get it out of the way. And once you do that, then you can pull your gas tank off, because if you try to pull the tank off, again with the bike clamped to the bike stand, you can't get it past the top handlebar bracket. So that's a sequence that we have to move forward with and make that happen. Okay, I had mentioned that we had a lot of bad things going on with this bike, but there's also some good things. Looking here, I'm just finding some of the little items like this spring clip that holds the wires. That's actually a pretty cool unit. And even though they've chromed the cups top and bottom, which will have to come off, they're supposed to be CAD plated. So just little things like this sort of tells me that this bike was a complete bike and not something that was a put together. So we got that off, and next we're going to go ahead and disconnect the perch, clutch, and brake, and then we'll bust loose the bolts for the handlebars and remove those. In the process of removing these handlebars, you have to be really careful, because these bolts, these 3/4 inch headed bolts, are quite stout, and it may take a little bit of pressure to get them busted loose. But when you're taking these off, you have to be very, very careful, because if you remove one of them, what happens is the handlebars want to swing and hit your gas tank. So make sure you put a cover on your gas tank before you remove these bolts. And another item I wanted to make mention of, on the left side handlebar, for the 1957, the high-low beam switch needs to be about 1 inch off of the stop for your hand grip. So we're going to have to weld these bars, remove this, weld up all the holes, move this over 1 inch, and re-drill and tap all the holes, and then send them out and have them replated. So that's our next step. And the clutch lever, if you take a look in this hole here, you can see the actual perch itself is on an angle. It's not a straight through hole, but the lower clamp is set up for a 90-degree clamp. So Colony actually makes these clamps now on an angle to accommodate the angled perch. It's got a lot more meat on this end than it does over here. So again, you can see the oddly shaped hole. Look over here, it's way different. So there's a couple things you have to watch out for. But again, we'll go ahead and take the handlebars off, make sure you protect your gas tank, and we'll get to the next step. Now that I have the handlebars unbolted, and I leaned them forward to allow me to go ahead and remove the gas tank, get it out of harm's way. And being that we're exposed now to your carburetor, you can go ahead and pull off the throttle cable and the clamp to free up the throttle cable itself, so you can remove that along with the handlebars. I did also remove the advancer cable from the distributor prior to the removal of the gas tank. So got that done, so we'll go ahead and remove this cable, slide the handlebars off, and then we can go ahead and bust this nut loose, pull the top cover, and then we can go ahead and unbolt the speedometer. Okay, we've been working towards getting the speedometer removed, and as you can see, I had to remove quite a few items to get to it. The last piece that we have to remove is the actual top tin. So we need to remove the top of the front fork caps, and also the little bolt here that holds down the top tin and also accommodates the steering tensioner. So let's get that off, and then we'll go ahead and get the speedometer removed. Now that we have the top tin removed, we can get down to the actual nitty-gritty of removing the speedometer. Yay! Again, we'll go ahead and remove the two key switches at the same time. So basically, remove your speedometer cable, don't forget that. Then you have to remove the screws on the side, the two bolts up here, left and right, and then the speedometer along with the mounting bracket will all come off at the same time. And there we have it, one speedometer removal. All I have to do is remove it from this CAD-plated bracket, and then send the speedometer off to John Bordas to put a gray face on it, and I think we also have to remove the needle, change that out. But here are the very rare ignition switches, very nice condition. I know a lot of people would give their eye teeth to own these, but forget it, they're going back on this bike. We also have the very nice terminal board, and when I was removing the top tin, I noticed that this little washer, it's actually a spacer that's supposed to go underneath the top triple tree. So it does not go on top, it goes down below. So let's just walk over here to the parts that we did remove from the bike. So to get to the speedometer, you got to pull the gas tank, the headlight, the handlebars, front tin, back tins, top tins, before you can remove the Speedo. So there you have it. This will be the second installment of my video of the actual re-restoration of 1957 Harley Davidson number 3100. And if anybody would like to comment, please get a hold of me at batorintel@aol.com, BATORINTL@aol.com. Or you can call me direct at 805-798-1802.